Oh, we're live on Facebook.
Hey, what's up, Facebook? How are you?
All right, we are going live. We are live on Twitter.
Oh man, I'm so live. Happy Ash Wednesday to everybody.
That's right.
All the proud Catholics out there.
And we're now going live on YouTube.
And if you're not Catholic, I guess happy National Frozen Food Day. It's real. That's a real thing.
That's right.
So enjoy your meat, your dino nuggets.
As I ate B-dubs in front of you today. All right, we're out there. So, Jay Bird, if you want to get us going with a live read, we will get things kicking here.
I would love to, David. Let's talk about Mighty Call real quick, guys. Using Google Voice is a very popular way to get a virtual phone number. Well, guys, Google Voice is like the minor leagues and Mighty Call. It's like the majors. Here's what you get with Mighty Call. Multiple toll-free and local numbers that you can use to run ad campaigns and target demographics. Caller ID and call screening, which is very important. You can set up VIP list to target your most important clients. You can set up lists to block spam and robocalls. No one likes those, Dave.
No, they don't.
And the coolest thing, no hardware. As long as you got a cell phone or tablet, you're all good. The office travels with you. Never miss a call or a client interaction. Again, check them out at mightycall.com.
mightycall.com. Jaybird.
Yes.
This is going to be a fun show. It's action-packed. We got a lot of people coming on. And we're off. Hit it, Jaybird! Welcome to the Big Play Podcast. Today is Wednesday, March 6th, 2019. I am your host, Big Play Dave, alongside my main man from the top row, wearing the Legion of Doom shirt, the Big Play Jay.
Oh, what a rush, Davey Mac. What's happening, brother?
Nothing. We got a full slate today.
We do. We have 20 guests here?
Yeah, I think we have 23 guests tonight on the Big Play Podcast.
Get them all in at once.
Michael, how are you, sir?
Just so Jay can hear it, I'm living the dream, and I'm pumped up about it. I'm
Oh,
crushing it.
this guy. All
Nice.
right.
Oh, you know what? I don't even know if we ever set up your camera shot, so you might not even make it on air.
That's all right. Yeah, he's got a face for podcast anyway, so we're all good.
Jay, we got a fantastic show. Let's
We
get
do.
right into it. So tonight on the Big Play Podcast, we will run through the fastest 2 minutes in sports, any headlines that you missed. We will then get into Hell No Hell Yeah. We'll get into our a ton of interviews. We got a whole bunch of them. We've got Evan Lazar, we've got Ryan Talbot, we've got Lake Lewis Jr. coming in.
Yeah.
Going to be fantastic. We're going to be talking a lot of NFL football. So Lake Lewis covering the Redskins, Ryan Talbot with the Bills Mafia, and our boy Evan Lazar with those Patriots. Then we'll get into a little fringe binge with Michael over there. We'll see if we can get him on air. We'll see what happens. We'll play some
Right.
music. And then we'll get in the after hours, tell you what's coming up next week. But before we get into any of that, as we do every week on the Big Play Podcast, it is time for the secret ingredient fueling tonight's show.
Today's secret ingredient is scallop, mushroom, pizza dough, hamburger. Today's secret ingredient is
Ooh, Dave.
Ooh,
Today we've got, by Flying Dog, this is Lucky S.O.B. Irish Red Ale.
Oh, it's a kid's show.
I know it is. Yeah. This is delicious, by the way. And just in time for St. Patty's Day. How about that?
I like it.
Like this, very drinkable, only 5.5%. It's brewed by our friends at Flying Dog, which is in Frederick, Maryland, and Utica, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, great Dunder Mifflin branch at Utica, if I recall.
Wow,
Remember that?
Yeah, it's no Stanford.
Yeah, but I like this. This is smooth. A lot of those red ales it can be a little rough, man.
It's
but
a good one.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm into it. Give me
Clink
a
to me,
clink.
brother.
We need a clinking sound, Mike.
We do.
Get on that.
Bring
next
back the
time.
wedding
We've done
soundtrack.
cans for a long time now.
Yeah, we need to switch that up. Dave,
Yes,
are you ready to get on that line of scrimmage and call it on the line, brother?
I was born
We got to
ready.
get across that line of scrimmage. It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Fastest 2 minutes in sports.
Kick us
Here
off, brother.
We go. All right. The recent tributes may be pulling at the heartstrings a little because Dirk Nowitzki stated this week he hasn't ruled out coming back for his 22nd
He's like the German
season.
Cal Ripken, brother.
Indiana University of Pennsylvania, who's ranked number 3 in the country in Division II, forgot to bring their uniforms to a recent matchup with Edinburgh. Did they forfeit? No. They whooped Edinburgh while wearing the rivals' old road jerseys.
Boy, Edinburgh, they're the type of rival that give you the shirt off their back, Dave.
Ravens running back Alex Collins was arrested Friday morning after a car crash near the Ravens facility at 6:48 a.m. after his car struck a tree.
Yeah, yikes.
Collins has been released and charges are expected announced this week. Dallas Cowboys great Jason Witten is leaving the booth at Monday Night Football after just 1 year. He's rejoining them Cowboys on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal.
It's like Roger Dorn, he activated himself, Dave. The NFL Combat event you've been waiting for went down, and it's official. Kyler Murray is 5'10", 108 inches, and 279 pounds.
He is the weigh-in goat.
That he is. Some other NFL Combine highlights. DK Metcalf, 1.9% body fat, Dave, and ran a 4.33
Not
40.
healthy.
Dexter Lawrence suffered a leg injury during his second 40 attempt, which stinks. Montez Sweat set a 40-yard record for linemen running at 4.41. And Buffalo quarterback Tyree Jackson measured in at 6'7", 249 pounds, and ran a 4.940.
It's a great class for Madden football.
Exactly. The Eagles signed defensive end Brandon Graham to a 3-year, $40 million extension. He had just 4 sacks last year, guys, but he was hampered by some issues with the injuries.
Great player. You'll always remember him for that strip sack on Brady.
Absolutely. Former MLB great and 8-time All-Star John Smoltzy made his PGA Champions Tour debut last week, shooting a 1/220 at the Cologuard Classic in Tucson, Arizona.
You just couldn't close, Jay. Just couldn't close.
It's a shame. Got it. Right on time. How about
Right
that?
on time.
Right on time. So, Dave,
Fantastic.
It's been I even saw some odds online, too, start to develop, so that's fun.
Yeah.
Who do you want to replace Witten in the Monday Night Football booth? A lot of good options here.
Ooh, there are a lot of good options. I would go, if I had to rank, I've got 3 guys that I would be very happy with. Number 1 would be Joe Thomas. Number 2, Pat McAfee. Or number 3, Nate Burleson. I'd be happy with any of them. If I had to pick one, I'd go Joe Thomas.
I like that, too. I can't argue with any of those. The early favorite, though, of course, is one of the Manning brothers.
Yeah,
The
he's
good one.
He's closing those Papa Johns. You gotta do something new here.
Right.
Jay, who benefited the most from their performance at this NFL Combine? do you
Kyler
think?
Murray, no doubt.
Yeah.
All he had to do was gain a little weight and measure himself.
Grow a couple inches?
Yeah, so the guy, surprise, surprise, all of a sudden he's not taking part in any of the drills. Why? Because he bulked up about 15 pounds.
He'd run like a 5'7".
Yeah, so then you saw the comparisons to a lot of the other smaller quarterbacks that came in. Russell Wilson, for example. What people forget is Russell Wilson lost weight to get around 205 because he wanted to be faster in his drills. But I don't know.
There's no way Kyler Murray weighs more than Russell Wilson.
Not at all. Not at all. So, Mike, last year, of course, was a very QB star-heavy draft. This year, none of those guys are going to be there. Will this year be a big year, you think, for another position?
Oh, absolutely. D-line, edge, outside linebackers, everybody getting after the quarterback this year. Not as many quarterbacks. I've seen in a few places that we're looking at possibly 13 out of 16 of the first picks being defensive players.
Wow.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
It
It's gonna
could be 2
fun.
quarterbacks, too, at least.
Speaking of the draft, Dave, let's get into it, my man. We're gonna go conference by conference, guy. And this week we're starting in the East with the AFC East. Let's start south, my friend, with the Miami Dolphins. So, not the best of seasons, Dave. Very inconsistent.
Yeah.
They won their first 3 games. They lost their last 3. Just kind of back and forth. They ended up 7-9. They were second in the AFC East. They fired Adam Gase. Remember, Gase came in, made the playoffs that first year. He had 6 wins the last year and actually improved this year, but just really never matured and helped Ryan Tannehill the way they wanted to as the quarterback guru.
Right.
So now Brian Flores comes in, the former Patriots defensive coordinator and head coach, really well-regarded guy. Not a lot of cap space. They've only got a little over $11 million, so not much really there to spend on.
Sure.
Their areas of need, pretty simple. We know Ryan Tannehill's not going to be the answer at QB.
Hey, maybe put him at wide receiver.
Yeah. The offensive line, too, they were ranked 24th overall run blocking scheme, so that's not going to get it done. And then defensively, God, they were 31st against the rush, and they were 21st against the passing, with giving up 245 yards a game. So, man, a lot of areas of need.
They got the draft coming up.
That they do. So they've got the 13th pick. Man, if he's available there in the first round, you got to get Drew Lock. Absolutely.
You think so?
If he's available, it's kind of a, and a lot of it's going to go see what happens with our buddy Kyler Murray. That's going to be the first domino there. Literally could be the first domino.
Number
you could be
one.
right. And if he's not there, man, I'd like to see him get Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle out of Washington State. They got to shore up that offensive line. He'd be a great person to do that.
24th? Yeah.
Yeah, and then early in the second round, they've got the 48th pick. I think you got to get Devin White, the linebacker out of LSU, if he's available. If not him, Julian Love out of Notre Dame was an excellent quarterback, had 7 interceptions last year. So, fun stuff. Let's go to the Big Apple, my man. What are the Jets going to do?
Oh, man, what aren't they going to do? So not a lot of good things to say here for Jets Nation. 4-12 last year. 29th in total offense, 25th in total defense.
Yeah.
There's hope. There's hope, Jay Bird.
Yeah.
Quarterback guru, the quarterback whisperer, Adam Taco Gase.
He does have the eye of the tiger.
He does.
And a weirdo.
They hired him, replaced Todd Bowles. They got the second most cap space at $104 million.
Yeah.
So what does that bring? Maybe guys like Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
We could see.
It's rumored.
A lot of rumors out there. We'll see if it actually pans out. So you look at areas of need heading into this next season. Obviously, offensive tackle is going to be a big one.
Yep.
Ranked dead last in run blocking per Football Outsiders. Probably go edge rusher. Probably not a bad idea. I mean, the inside's pretty good. They need an edge rusher though. They really need that. So when you look at the draft, obviously the Jets suck. They're picking early.
They're
picking third once again. Second year in a row after they traded up to get Samuel Darnold. I think you got to go D-line here. So you look at some of the players, and a ton could happen.
Right.
A lot could happen. Depends on Kyler Murray if he actually does go number 1, if they trade out of that pick. Nick Bosa, defensive end, OSU.
Yeah, if he doesn't go to San Francisco, that's all the mocks pretty much have.
He's probably going to be gone. He's probably going to be gone.
Right,
but then you've got Josh Allen. Then you've got Keenan Williams, from the defensive tackle, the big boy from Alabama.
Yeah, boy, he dominated in that SEC title game.
Yeah, so they've got options there.
Yeah.
And they don't have a second-round pick.
They don't. Yes.
They
got to get it done. Yeah, right off.
They
the bat.
need to hit big time on that.
It'll be very interesting. A lot of cap space too, as you mentioned too, Dave. So looking forward to seeing what they do. And that's a team that really could shake up the draft, especially at that 3 spot.
Right.
So we'll see if anyone trades up, if anything happens there. So we're going to get into the Bills, Dave. But before we do that, let's just kind of talk about some of the other folks and possibilities here in the AFC East.
So let's go back to the draft real quick.
Yeah.
So you've got Kyler Murray, number 1 overall. Is it going to happen?
A lot of rumors.
Is it going to happen?
Yes.
You think so?
I do think so. You've convinced me and everyone else that said all of a sudden now that he's measured in.
A lot of people are saying if he doesn't weigh in again and measure again at his pro day, that's going to be a huge red flag, because there was articles coming out today saying that Kyler Murray, he didn't fudge the numbers, but someone helped him grow a little bit.
Right. Maybe he's got those stilts like Tom Cruise. He's sitting on those high shoes.
Right? Yeah, I mean, he'd be tall for an actor, but if Kyler Murray, if he measures in and he drops an inch or two,
Yeah.
Do you think that has any bearing on his draft?
Of course.
You think so?
Why are we? Why is the only reason we weren't talking about
Right.
it as a top 3 pick before?
We'll see.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Unbelievable.
So if that happens, the entire draft, I think, changes.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because
right.
you've got guys like Dwayne Haskins, who we'll probably talk when we talk Giants.
Sure.
Someone might trade up to 2.
Mm-hmm.
Take Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. My thing is, all right, so in the last year, you think about the Cardinals have hired a coach. They gave him 1 year. He was awful. They got rid of him. They've brought in a rookie quarterback.
Thank you for Steve Wilkes.
And now they're going to give up on him already.
Right? What's that say about
Can
the
you just
GM?
trade the GM? Can they draft a GM here at number one?
We talked about it, I don't know how many weeks ago, about that GM and how he kind of appeases to the crowd. He appeases to the masses. So I'm not going to put him past him.
Right. Yeah. Speaking about someone who appeases to the masses and everyone likes, let's bring in our first guest here tonight, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Covers the Bills for @Bills Updates and New York Upstate. You can find his stuff there. He's a part of the NY Up, which is, of course, nyupstate.com. It's our buddy at Ryan Talbot Bills. Ryan, how you doing tonight? Thanks for coming in, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm doing great.
Appreciate it. Well, hey, before we get into the draft here, let's kind of talk about quickly the Bills 2018 season. What did you see overall, Ryan, that encouraged you last year going into 2019?
Well, if you start on the offensive side of the ball, it starts with Josh Allen. When he first started early in the season, he made a lot of mistakes on the field. There were some games where he made some very poor throws, some poor decision making. Well, you could see that firsthand. But then he went down with the elbow injury, and he was out for a few games. And that's when the Bills brought in Derek Anderson, and then eventually Matt Barkley. And they had that veteran presence then in the locker room, which I really think helped Josh Allen. So when Josh Allen came back, I'm not saying he made a complete 180 here, but he looked a lot more comfortable in the pocket. He was more aggressive in terms of saying, okay, if there's no one open right away, or if I see some pressure, I'm going to take off with the ball. I'm going to run. And he was obviously very successful as a runner when he came back in that second stint. So, Josh Allen, there were some real flashes there. The deep ball, you saw that on display, especially with Robert Foster, another guy to get really excited about. Here's a guy who slips through the cracks in the draft, goes undrafted, gets a chance in Buffalo early in the year, doesn't really do much, and he gets released and moved to the practice squad. And then when he gets that second opportunity, all of a sudden, he's making all these big plays down the field, and he ends up with, 500-some yards, quite a few touchdowns, really made a good showing for himself later in the year. So there's that chemistry there. Defensively, there's a lot you can say positive about the defense. They were one of the best defenses in the league last year. I think just going into the offseason, they have one of the better secondaries in the league with Tre'Davious White, with Levi Wallace, who really stepped up at cornerback number 2. Taron Johnson played really well out of the slot. And then, even though safety is clearly being undervalued across the league, the Bills have a very good safety tandem in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, absolutely. So you wrote a really interesting article on the 25th, Ryan, about some of the things that they could do in free agency. Tell us about a couple guys that you think the Bills should target this offseason.
Well, I think it really starts with Matt Paradis of the Broncos, obviously. Here's a guy who all reports right now, at least, are saying that Denver probably is not going to be able to retain him at center. Buffalo's offensive line was a mess last year, and that really did start at center. Russell Bodine and Ryan Groy really struggled in that position. Brendan Bean has spoke about the importance of having a veteran there who can really help at the line in terms of calling out, who's blitzing, who's doing this, who's doing that, make some different changes at the line to help Josh Allen out to make it that much easier for a young quarterback. So I think he's target number one. If they miss out on him, there's Mitch Morse, who's also out there. Sticking with the offensive line, Darrell Williams, the former Carolina Panthers, so Brendan Bean obviously knows him very well. Sean McDermott's obviously familiar with him as well. At right tackle, Jordan Mills is a free agent, and maybe he's a backup plan if they lose out on Darrell Williams and a few other targets. Wide receiver, I can see the Bills being active in that market. There's Tyrell Williams, who I think is going to get a lot of money here in free agency. I think there's going to be a lot of suitors for him. He might go to the highest bidder. He might go to a team where he can compete for a ring right away. Maybe the Bills finally learn after watching, the Patriots year after year really hurt the Bills and every other team out of the slot. Maybe they go after an Adam Humphries and they get aggressive and get a guy that can hurt other teams out of the slot. And then right now the team only has one tight end on their roster in Jason Kroom, who's shown some potential. I think the team would feel comfortable if he was tight end number 2 this year. But maybe they bring in another veteran like Jesse James, a player they've been linked to already as having interest. They've already had a tight end in today. Tyler Eifert's another option out there if they want to be creative and maybe an incentive-laden contract there. And obviously, if we turn our attention to the draft, I think they're going to go after a tight end in the draft pretty early as well, maybe the first anywhere from round 1 to round 3.
Right. So they got 10 picks in 7 rounds, Ryan, which is a litany of picks. You wrote that you could see a scenario where they trade out of the 9th pick with Washington. Tell us about what you saw there and some possibilities for that pick.
Yeah, at 9, I think the Bills have to hope that there's still a quarterback on the board that is coveted. It's looking less and less like Kyler Murray would be there, obviously. Will Dwayne Haskins be there? Probably not. But maybe a team falls in love with Locke. And when the Bills are on the board at 9, a team says, okay, this is our shot to move up and get them. And Washington obviously comes to mind after what happened to Alex Smith. And maybe they say, okay, we'll give you our 1, our 2, and our 3, which maybe isn't as much as Buffalo received or gave away last year, I should say, when they traded up to get Josh Allen. But that's still a nice little haul there. And then all of a sudden, you have 1, you have 2 2s, you have 2 3s, they have a few 5s, they have a few 6s, and they can really do some damage there and address a lot of needs. And that's the big thing. Brendan Beane has said all along, we'll add some pieces in free agency, but we want to build this team through the draft.
Right, absolutely. So round 1, pick 9, if they don't trade out of that pick, ideally, who's the guy that the Bills pick here?
I wish I could narrow it down to one last year.
It's so hard
because you knew the Bills, you knew the Jets, you knew the Browns were all targeting a quarterback. It was just who was going to be available. The Bills just have so many needs. DK Metcalf is obviously a player that's getting a lot of love after he showed off, his speed at the combine. He has that size. He didn't necessarily do so well in the agility drills.
Right.
But he's a guy that they've been linked to, and maybe Brendan Beane, just like he sees with Josh Allen, he says, okay, here's a ball of clay that we can mold, that we can coach up, that we can teach. Because if we can teach him, some route running and this and that, he's going to be a hard guy to bring down with that size, with that speed. Yeah. Tight end, Noah Fant did himself a lot of favors at the combine. He might have even leapfrogged his teammate TJ Hawkinson. Both of those guys, I think, are options in round 1. Offensive tackle, especially if the Bills miss out on a guy like Darrell Williams in free agency. Juwan Taylor out of Florida might be there. Jonah Williams is an option, and he's a guy that can play tackle or guard. And then I heard you guys mentioning Andre Dillard. He's a guy that I think is going to fly up the draft board. I think he has everything that you look for in a franchise tackle in this league. I think that he could end up even being the first tackle off the board when all is said and done.
Yeah.
And then they lost Kyle Williams to retirement, and I keep seeing Ed Oliver sliding in these mock drafts.
Is that crazy?
And if Ed Oliver was on the board at number 9, how do you not raise
exactly
up with
right
that draft card?
Oh no, absolutely. So Ryan, it's kind of the biggest topic of discussion, especially since it turns out he's not 5'9". Do you think Kyler Murray goes number 1 to the Arizona Cardinals?
When there's smoke, there's fire, and it just seems to be the rumor. It just keeps picking up more and more steam. I really do think that he will go number 1. I think they're going to trade off Josh Rosen. I think Rosen might go for more than what some of these early reports are saying.
I would agree with that.
Some are saying, possibly like a 3rd-round pick. Well, listen, there's a lot of teams that are looking for a quarterback. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to get a number 1 back, but I think they could get a 2 at least out of this, which maybe doesn't make up for moving up to get him last year. But yeah, you saw Cliff Kingsbury say, obviously, when he was still at Texas Tech at that time, that if he had the number 1 pick, that would be the guy he would go and get.
Yeah.
If that's how he really feels, well, there's a guy that he feels is perfect for his offense. If you're a first-year head coach, you're going to plead to the GM. You're going to plead to the brass saying, listen, if we get this guy, we can compete sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't look good for that franchise the way, like you guys were saying, they turned over their head coach after a year. They're walking away from a first-round quarterback after 1 year if they end up going after Murray. But at the end of the day, here's a guy that they feel, a head coach that they feel they can win with. And if he says this is a quarterback that we can compete with for the next 10 to 15 years, well, I think you have to go out and go get him.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Ryan, we appreciate it. We didn't have much time with you tonight. We're definitely going to have to have you back on here when we talk in more detail about the AFC East. But, guys, check him out on Twitter at Ryan Talbot Bills. Check his stuff out at nyup.com. Ryan, thanks for coming in tonight. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks again, guys.
All right, great stuff from our guy Ryan Talbot. Let's keep the AFC East going, my man.
Stars are just filing in tonight.
That's right. Our next caller, who we're having on, talking a little Patriots. Let's see here. Yeah, we've got him on the line as well. We haven't talked to him since
Super
the
Bowl
Super
week,
Bowl.
yeah.
So we're going to Patriots beat reporter for CLNS Media, host of the Pats All 22 podcast, our buddy, Mr. Evan Lazar. How you doing?
Yeah, representing the evil empire of the
Yeah, we just had Ryan Talbot on
yeah,
talking Bills, and he's like, oh, God, you got a Patriots guy coming on.
Evan, thanks for bringing us what most people thought was the most boring Super Bowl ever. I thought it was great, side note.
I think a lot of people in New England would disagree with the boring.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Evan, let's get right into it. We gotta ask. You got your feet down there in New England. What's the latest you're hearing with Robert Kraft?
Well, I think right now we're all kind of in the holding pattern until that court date that his lawyer needs to appear in a couple of weeks. He obviously will not be appearing himself, I don't think, at all in this case, unless it really goes to a court with a judge. It's not going to be a jury case. Obviously, with him being a public figure and being so popular here in Boston, it would be pretty difficult to have an impartial jury with the Robert Kraft case. But I think it's just going to be the judge. And from the sounds of it, though, and from all the reports and all the indications, that he's going to plead not guilty and try to fight this thing, which, to be honest with you, obviously it's a much different case scenario. But the Patriots have been known to kind of fight some of these, legal battles or league battles and
you don't say,
what happens on the field.
That's right.
Yeah, so it does kind of have a feeling, obviously very, very different circumstances, but it has that same feeling of, we're not going to admit guilt until we absolutely have to.
Hey, why not? Why not? Talking about another star there in New England, Gronk. Tell us, man, is he going to retire?
Well, it looks to me, and I think it sounds to me, that every day that goes by that he doesn't retire, it gets closer and closer to him coming back, I think, next season. And I think that the indications are right now that he is going to come back. That's not to say that anything is definitive right now, not reporting that it's 100% that he's coming back by any means. But I think that the fire is still there. I know he's been down at Gillette Stadium a whole lot in the off season. I think that a little bit of that is rehabbing some injuries from the past season. He had a pretty bad hip stinger in the Super Bowl that gave him some problems, and he also has a bulging disc in his back that is probably going to need surgery at some point in the off season. And those two things, obviously there's no better medical staff or medical attention that he could get than the guys down at Gillette Stadium. So that could be why he's been down there. But Tom Brady's talked about publicly him coming down to work out with him at TV12 and all that kind of stuff. So it sounds to me like there's a pretty good chance that Gronk comes back. We'll see what happens, though. I mean, I think we've seen in the past with a couple of different examples in recent history where guys come back for training camp and they start to get back into the grind of training camp practices and meetings and all that stuff, and they say, wait a second, I don't have this in me anymore to do this. So maybe you have that kind of situation, but right now I think we're leaning towards Gronk playing in 2019.
Do you think Gronk and Brady are going to kind of ride off into the sunset together?
Well, I think that it's a pretty underrated aspect of this is how persuasive Tom Brady can be.
Right, exactly.
To get
Yeah.
Gronkowski to play again. Go ahead.
No, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just I think that that's one thing that is kind of been under talked about here is that Tom Brady comes to Rob Gronkowski. I'm sure they've already probably had this conversation. He says, buddy, let's do this one last time. Let's try to go after another Super Bowl. That's a pretty persuasive guy to be arguing that point with you. So I think that and Bob Kraft has been known to be a very persuasive human being as well. So I think everybody in New England would love to see him back, and everybody in the organization would love to see him back. And maybe even if Gronk doesn't necessarily want to come back himself, does he have it in him to say no to everybody else?
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. Jack Easterby, what you got rid of a character coach? What the heck is a character coach?
So this one is really interesting because I'm not trying to downplay the other fan bases, but in a fan base that is so hyper focused on everything about the team, I think it's pretty awesome actually that we care about a character coach leaving the team. Like, this is usually something that kind of flies under the radar that nobody really thinks about or cares about, but here in New England it's kind of been a pretty big storyline. And I think the main thing that Easterby did is he just was kind of somebody that a lot of these players could talk to, and he built a culture. A lot of building a culture in New England has been in the last couple of years at least with Easterby, and he was a big part of keeping Josh Gordon on the field for as long as Gordon was on the field. And it just seems like a guy that everybody that you talk to, every player that you speak to, just speaks glowingly of the guy in terms of what he's been able to do. Now, what his exact job description is and title, I'm not 100% sure, but it sounds to me like he's almost like the Patriots guidance counselor in a lot of ways. And he's kind of just one of those guys that you can come into step into my office and let's have a conversation type of thing and air out some things that might be bothering you. And he's really made a big imprint and given a really great impression. Now, I think that some of the rumors are out there that he might be following Brian Flores to Miami. I know last year when Josh McDaniels was supposed to be going to Indy, there was some rumors out there that Easterby might follow him to Indianapolis. So maybe that's what we're, kind of waiting for here is the next shoe to drop with Easterby.
We're talking with Evan Lazar. Go follow him on Twitter at EZLazar, Lazar, Patriots beat reporter for CLNS Media. Let's get into 2019, heading into the season. Edelman, he's put in a lot of work. You looked at him in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Is it time to kind of get him an outside compliment for Julian Edelman?
Well, I think that's really been the biggest thing, and what they tried to do with Josh Gordon, and it worked, obviously for the amount of time that Gordon was on the field, was find a guy on the perimeter. And it's not so much that the Patriots want a guy that's going to take the top off the defense. I think that's talked about a lot around football and around this team is let's find that deep threat that can, threaten the safeties and take the top off. They tried that with Brandon Cooks, and Brandon Cooks had a great season for them. He had over 1,000 yards, big part of that playoff run in the AFC Championship game especially. But it always kind of seemed like an odd fit with an older quarterback that wasn't necessarily known for having a huge arm to pair him, with a guy that needed the ball 50, 60 yards downfield at times to be productive. So I think they would really like to find that intermediate perimeter threat that really Josh Gordon was doing a nice job holding that spot down for them. But obviously they need a guy that's a little bit more reliable. Yeah,
fair enough. You mentioned Gronk earlier with all of those kind of nagging injuries. He's had the bug the entire career. Do you think it's time to look for a replacement either in free agency or in the NFL draft for Gronk for, looking over the long term?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this draft, and I'm sure you've talked about it with a lot of people, is just absolutely loaded at the tight end position. And you have those big three, I call them, at the top of the draft, and Irv Smith and Hawkinson and Noah Fant from Iowa. I don't know if the Patriots go round one unless one of those Iowa guys falls to them, but I think Irv Smith in round two, they have the 56th overall pick from Chicago that they could probably package with one of their 10 picks in the later part of the draft. They have 12 of them total. So Bill Belichick is going to be wheeling and dealing all draft weekend with that amount of draft capital. So maybe they sneak back up into the beginning of the second round and grab Irv Smith out of Alabama. But even if they don't, Jay Sternberger, I think out of A&M is a really good fit for them. The guy that can really run the slot, very good after the catch. That's like kind of what the Patriots look for in their receivers, the guy that can stretch the seam and work the middle of the field is a nice fit for him. And then obviously there's some guys later on, Caden Smith from Stanford, Khalil Waring, the water polo player that everybody's been talking about since the combine.
Right.
I really like him. He's extremely raw. Obviously, he's only played 19 games of collegiate football, but just in terms of his movement skills, at 6'6", 250 pounds, he moves just as good as anybody in this draft. So there's a lot of really good tight end prospects, and I think that the Patriots would like to take at least one in this draft.
So you on Twitter, he's a great follow. Go give him a follow at Easy Lazard. You recently gave a plan for the Patriots in rounds 1 and 2. So 32nd in round 1, you got 2 picks in round 2.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that plan.
So basically, I think that, just learning and studying Bill Belichick's draft habits over the last 2 decades, it becomes clearer and clearer to you that he really does take the best player available when the Patriots are on the clock. And when he doesn't feel like that best player available at the time that they're drafting is a good fit or a guy that is really going to, move the needle for them, that's when you see the trade downs. And that's, the vintage Belichick trade down is when that happens, when they really like a guy that's maybe worthy of the pick 10 spots later. That's when they tend to trade down. But in this draft, I think they really, especially if Trey Flowers leaves in free agency, they have to bolster that defensive line and add a defensive lineman in this draft that is just absolutely stacked with D linemen. I mean, we're talking about probably going 15, 20 deep. I know Daniel Jeremiah said on the combine broadcast that they could probably put together an entire first round mock draft of all defensive linemen in this draft, and it really does kind of feel like that. So at 32, I kind of have them penciled in right now before free agency. We'll see what happens with Trey Flowers, and they also have Malcolm Brown, their interior defensive lineman, who's also a free agent. Right now, I think that at 32, you got to take the best available defensive lineman. And then later on in the draft, they have those 2 picks in the second round at 56 and obviously the one at the end at 64. And they have a bunch of picks in rounds 2, 3, and 4 from accumulating compensatory picks from losing Nate Solder, Dion Lewis, Malcolm Butler, all last year in free agency. So they have 12 picks total. New England does 6 in the top 101. So really, though, that's great draft capital. But my whole thing is that, and what I think, just studying Belichick, is that draft capital is great, but getting players is what matters in this league, right? You got to turn it into somebody. And I would just assume that you'd probably feel a little bit better about turning that into a player that they really know is going to make an impact other than, just taking picks just because they have 12 of them.
Fair enough. Evan, where can the listeners listen to your podcast?
Yeah, we're on iTunes. We're on Google Play Store. We're on Spotify, all over the place. It's the Patriots All 22 podcast right now. We're in the middle of doing all draft stuff, previewing the draft position by position. We're going to do actually a little bit later tonight. We're doing a combine recap type show as well. So we're really going to hit all of that hard. And then, of course, if the Patriots make some big signings, then we'll go over some free agent stuff too next week.
All right, back to the Super Bowl.
I hope so, right? I mean, I think it's pretty crazy to be talking about this, still. But as long as they keep on, keep Brady upright like they did in the playoffs last year, they're going to have as good of a chance as anybody.
Love it. Thanks for joining the podcast, my man. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate your time.
Happy to do it, guys.
All right, that was Evan Lazard.
Love Alan. Evan.
You just call him Alan? Come on, man.
Poor guy. He's going to be like, I'm never going to talk to him yet. But that guy's great.
He's fantastic.
He is so on top of the draft right now. I mean, just uploading video clips, giving analysis. That guy's a great follow on Twitter. Check him out.
Go give him a follow.
You know what else is great, Dave?
What's that?
Hell no, hell yeah.
Well, it's time for Hell No, Hell Yeah.
Hell no. Give me a hell yeah.
Love that one. The manual, hell no.
I love
hell
it, Jay.
yeah.
Let's get it going.
Yeah.
So, hell no, hell yeah. The MLB's most prized free agent, Bryce Harper.
Heard of him.
Yes, he's found his squad. Harper signed a 13-year, $330 million deal. Make him a Philly late into his 30s, into the future. Jay, hell no, hell yeah. Did the Phillies pay too hefty of a price for the phenom, Mr.
Hell
Bryce Harper?
no.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
So he surpasses Stanton, of course. His contract was $325 on that extension.
Yep.
This makes me wonder what the heck's Mike Trout going to get in 2 years, right?
$1 billion.
But there are always several ways to look at something here, Dave. So his average annual salary, Bryce Harper, is going to be $25.38 million, which is 10th among active players. So it's kind of sort of a bargain.
Okay.
So I think they did all right here. I like it.
Yeah, it was not a very... I mean, obviously, it's a lucrative contract, but
Sure.
not super lucrative for him over the long term.
No.
Interesting.
No. Yep.
Let's keep it going here. So there's 18 games to go in the NBA season. The Lakers find themselves at 30-34 and in the 10th spot in the Western Conference. Jay, hell no, hell yeah. Should LeBron shut it down for the rest of the year?
No, hell no, man.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
So mathematically, the Lakers aren't out of it, Dave. They've got about a 1% chance per a lot of odds makers. But
All right.
keep in mind, mathematically, I also have a chance to hit the Powerball too as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
So LeBron's going to have 2 extra months because he's not going to be in the playoffs, which is enough for his body to break down. To break down and recoup. And that's a part of the problem. After he got injured, you can tell his conditioning is probably not where it should be.
Right.
He said he's about 280 plus right now.
280?
I've heard 280. So,
wow.
I mean, I don't think he's where he wants to be there too as well.
That's
so
fair.
He's going to have a good offseason, get back, and we'll see what they do.
All
It's
right.
gonna be interesting.
Jay, let's keep it going with one more here. The news broke this week that Nick Foles is expected to sign with the Jags when the league year opens. Is Foles the right guy for the Jaguars?
Oh, hell yeah.
Give me a hell yeah. What?
Veteran player does his best work when the time is when he's in a crunch. So
Right.
he's great in the playoffs. That defense was top 5 last year.
Yeah.
So Doug Marone's kind of overhauled his whole coaching staff. He's brought in some folks that should help him out. I'm looking forward to it, Dave. So time for you to get on the hot seat. And
Oh,
here's a guy
boy.
who's on the hot seat. Dave, Johnny Manziel was recently released by the Montreal Alouettes and kicked out of the CFL for violating his agreement with the league. Should the former Heisman get a third chance with the AAF or the XFL?
Give me a hell yeah. What?
Probably the XFL. Give it a year to kind of die down a little bit.
Yeah.
But XFL coming in hot in 2020.
They're coming in hot next week when we talk to Oliver Luck, the commissioner.
That's
Dave.
right.
So looking forward to that.
So he played 8 games in Montreal. He threw for about 1,300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not good
Ugh,
numbers
yeah,
by
yeah.
any means, especially for that league.
Right.
But he's going to be a huge draw no matter which league he picks.
Mm-hmm.
And for a league just starting off, you got to fill those seats.
No
you got to put the
doubt.
butts in the seats. I think
No
it would be a
doubt.
good move, and I think he's an all right quarterback.
I didn't scream it once. Give me credit. After winning his light heavyweight fight at UFC 235, as he always does after a quick knockout, Johnny Walker, he didn't drink, not the drink, took it to the mat to do the worm. Unfortunately, halfway through, he pulled up grip in his shoulder, and it turns out he dislocated the dang thing. Hell no, hell yeah, Dave. Was this karma for a little showboating?
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
You got to be able to showboat, man. That's part of the thing with the UFC. When you whoop someone, you showboat. You just got to get that worm down next time. It's
Absolutely.
not that hard of a move when you're a UFC fighter.
Yeah, so Shefty reported today, Dave, that a trade is expected to be in place for AB by Friday.
Ooh.
Recall that trades can't officially be agreed upon until next Wednesday at 4 p.m. when the league actually starts here. The favorites right now, there are 6 names, but here are the ones that we're seeing most frequently. The Raiders, Redskins, and Tennessee Titans. Dave, hell no, hell yeah, Gruden is just the type of guy that will give up the 4th pick for AB.
Give me a hell yeah.
He'll probably botch it somehow. I think he'll probably give the 4th and maybe the 24th as well.
Yeah.
Like
I
I feel like he's going to give way more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, the Steelers, I probably just going to pin him against himself.
Right.
And
right.
you know what? We're getting multiple first rounders in Gruden. What would he say to that?
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I'd tell you what, I'd take AB. He's a dynamic playmaker, Dave. He can get down the field and run those routes. He's great. He runs the XYZ tuna better than anyone I've ever seen. I tell you what.
Oh, I love it.
Good stuff. Dave, let's keep this train moving, brother. Let's do a little preview of the NFC East, and we're quickly going to talk about them dang Cowboys. So the Cowboys finished last year 10-6. They won the NFC East. And what happened? Amari Cooper was traded. That ignited the offense. All of a sudden, they're off to the races. What do they need, defensive end or DT, Dave? Because we don't really know what's going to happen with DeMarcus Lawrence. If they franchise and tag him, what's going on there? And Randy Gregory is suspended. Really sad story there.
Yep.
So it's going to be a boring draft for them, Dave, and that's why we're keeping it super brief.
Yeah.
They've only got 6 picks total. They don't have any in round 1 because Amari Cooper again.
Mm-hmm.
In round 2, they got the 58th pick. I'd like to see ideally, and this guy's tough. Zach Allen, the defensive end out of Boston College.
Okay.
Or a guy like Brian Burns, who's kind of a DN, outside linebacker, could play either position out of Florida State. How about the Super Bowl champions the previous season, Dave? Tell us about the the New York Giants.
Yeah, I want to talk
Skipping
Giants.
ahead, yeah.
I'm a Browns fan, so I definitely want to talk Giants and Odell Beckham. But you look at the Giants, kind of a rough season, 5-11, last in the NFC East. I mean, they're one bright star, Saquon Barkley, Rookie of the Year, fantastic player. They got to get some help around him. Got to build around that team. So 17th in total offense with Barkley. You would think they could do better than that. And 24th in total defense. So they've got a lot of needs they need to fill. You look at offensive line, Nate Solder and Will Hernandez, kind of shoring up Eli's blind side.
Ugh.
Can you believe we're still saying Eli's blind side?
We are, apparently.
Yeah. The right side is just garbage.
Right.
No offense, but man, 24th in rushing yards per game at 103.1. And you look at cornerback. I mean, they cut ties with Eli Apple,
right?
So that was kind of strange as well.
It was
kind of
strange.
a locker room cancer there. Definitely need help there. And then you've got Pat Shurmur talking about the quarterback. Says Giants are sticking with Eli
for now.
I mean, he has to. It's
what
March.
Do you say? Yeah, right.
What are you going to say in March?
Oh
no, we're going to go get a young guy and really replace him. So you look at the draft. The first couple of rounds. So round 1, they're picking 6th. If he's there, Dwayne Haskins, I feel like they have to take him this year.
Oh, absolutely.
They passed last year. Strong arm, accurate quarterback, 70% completion in college. He might not be there. Someone might trade up and take him.
Could happen.
Well, if that happens, I think you go offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
You keep that going with maybe Jawan Taylor, played the majority of his time at right tackle at Florida, or maybe Jonah Williams, the stud out of Bama. He played both sides at Bama. I think they kind of got to go with the Rams model with Gurley.
Right.
You look at Todd Gurley, you build the rest of the team, and then you finally go and get your Jared Goff.
Right, absolutely.
So we'll see what they do. You look at round 2, they're the 5th pick. I would probably go defensive back here.
Okay.
And just kind of hope, like we were talking about it earlier, we have no idea how this draft's going to play out.
No, God.
And
no.
you look at cornerback, a guy like Byron Murphy or maybe Trayvon Mullen from Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get lucky and one of those drops to you really early in that second round. We'll see how it shakes out, but I think that would be a very successful draft for Giants fans. I think they'd be pretty happy with it.
I agree with you. So let's talk about the Super Bowl champions the year before last. Of course, that's the Philadelphia Eagles, Dave.
Yep.
They made the wild card, made a late push in that season. Lost, of course, to the Saints in the second round to go to the NFC title game. And Nick Foles, we know, is now headed south. That should be announced Wednesday when they can do that.
Yeah.
Is Jason Peters retiring? Big offseason scenario there. We don't know yet, but we do know that they're 28th in rushing yards last year. So that's definitely an area they got to improve on.
Yeah.
And Jay Ajayi and Darren Sproles, their contracts have expired. So some needs there on the offensive side here.
God bless Darren Sproles.
Yeah, so they've got the 25th pick in the first round. I'd love to see them. You're probably going to have the best back still available at that point. It'd be great if they could get a guy like Josh Jacobs from Alabama.
Yep.
That'd be strong. And then in round 2, you got to get the best offensive tackle available. So if that's someone like Andre Dillard, if he slips, that'd be great. Or someone like Dalton Risner out of Kansas State. You got to get some help on that offensive line. So we'll see. I
like it. Expectations for them heading into the season. What do you think?
Pain. No, it's going to be an interesting season.
That's good stuff there. Yeah. All right, let's keep it going. We got another team to talk about. We've got the Washington Redskins, and we have one of our buddies, Lake Lewis Jr., Redskins insider. He does TV, podcast. He's everywhere. Go check out his great work at sportsjourney.com. Welcome to the Big Play Podcast, Lake Lewis. How we doing?
Hey guys, how you doing? I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. So the Redskins finished the year 7-9. They're losing the last 6 of 7. Probably not how they drew it up. What was encouraging as you look at last year? What are some signs of encouragement heading into this year?
Well, I mean, they've got a great young defense. Well, I wouldn't say great, but I think their defensive line is really good. And if you think about, Matt Ioannidis, Jonathan Allen, and Deron Payne, they've got 3 really good young linemen that they can build around. They've got to shore up some things behind them. At the linebacker position, perhaps Reuben Foster can kind of drop the baggage and perform on the field, and that's what they're banking on. And then obviously they've got to do some things at the safety position. But, I don't think the Redskins were as down and out as they looked at the end of the year, and that's because of the injury bug again. For whatever reason, guys, these guys can't get out the way of their own shadow. In the last few years, they've had injuries at an epic rate. So it's kind of hard to get a true assessment of, are they a team that can make noise in the NFC East, or are they a bottom feeder in the NFC East? It's kind of hard to say, with the injuries that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, talking about injuries, what's the latest update with Alex Smith?
I mean, I don't think Alex is going to play this year. I mean, the type of injury that he had, it was a horrific injury that totally derailed their season. And, in his situation, I mean, he's an older quarterback. So, you have to be really cautious and, to expect him to be back, for even the start of the year would just be wishful thinking. And I think that, unfortunately, this organization will sell Kool-Aid really well and make people think that perhaps he'll be back. But I just, there's no way. And especially with all the chatter now about having to possibly move up or trade for Rosen at Arizona, whatever. I mean, you don't do that if you think your starting quarterback is coming back this year.
Right.
So obviously, I think we all know he's not going to play this year.
So if he's not coming back, which it obviously sounds like that's the case, does the organization trust Josh Johnson going into the 2019 season, or do you think that's going to be one of their biggest needs? Come, probably not free agency, but the draft.
Yeah, they've got to address that spot, and Josh Johnson played well. But there's a reason why he's been on different teams. And sometimes, some guys just need an opportunity. And he played well, actually, down the stretch last year, considering he was just fresh off the street. I mean, he played very well. But I think if people think that the Redskins are going to, make a playoff push and win the division with Colt McCoy or Josh Johnson as the quarterback, again, I kind of think that's wishful thinking. And that's not to knock or berate those guys' talent, degrade their talent, but – they need a gunslinger. They need somebody that's going to, make all the throws, not turn the football over. And the irony is, the same fan base, a lot of people were killing Alex Smith last year for not throwing the ball down the field. And he didn't look like Patrick Mahomes, the guy that replaced him in Kansas City. But at the same time, Alex Smith is a winner. And Alex Smith had the Redskins in first place for 8 straight weeks last year. Mm-hmm. And then when he got injured, you just saw the wheels fall off, and it was more not just on the field stuff. I mean, Alex Smith was a great locker room guy. I mean, he was the leader that this organization, frankly, hadn't had in maybe 10 years as far as at that position. And I think that, you saw how the team rallied around him. And when he was injured, you saw the respect that was given for him, too, when he was carted off. And it just took the wind out their sails, and they could never recover.
Yeah, I mean, so you look at free agency versus the draft. Who are some names that you think the Redskins would benefit from picking up in free agency that maybe they could not have to address when draft comes?
Well, I mean, there's a quarterback that's out there that's not really talked about a lot. That I think if you're just going to say, hey, we're not going to draft a quarterback and we're not going to give up a draft pick for a quarterback. I would say Tyrod Taylor is a guy to take a good look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Lake Lewis, we're here in
Taylor.
Cleveland. Yeah, I saw him up and close.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
for 2 weeks.
Baltimore, Buffalo, Cleveland, he's performed well. He really has. And,
yeah.
Even when Baker Mayfield came in Cleveland last year, there were some, and I was one that thought it was a little premature, that they gave Baker the spot.
Sure.
But they needed something to change the pace there. So I understand why they did it. But Tyrod wasn't necessarily playing bad. It's just that, they just needed a spark. So anyway, I think he's a guy that could come here and fit right in. And if you get him another weapon on the outside, because that's the other thing. It doesn't really matter who's going to play quarterback for the Redskins if they don't have game changers to make plays. And that's why I know a lot of people don't like hearing me say this, but I'm trying to get Antonio Brown. If I'm the GM.
Wow.
I mean, listen, you're in a division.
I'm with you, man. I am with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about it, guys. They're in a division that has a team that's removed from the Super Bowl 2 years, and last year was on the cusp of making another run, and that's the Eagles.
Yeah.
They're going to be better this year. They're going to be healthier this year. Then on top of that, you have the Giants, and we all know what their situation is. It's, their offensive line stinks. So, Eli Manning, I can't crucify him just yet, but I do think he's over, it's over with him.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you look at Saquon Barkley, Beckham, Ingram, Shepard, they're loaded offensively from the skill set positions. And then, of course, the Cowboys are the Cowboys. You really don't know what you're going to get with them, but you do know that they do have a lot of young talent. And I think with Amari Cooper having an off season in their system and training camp with them, their offense should be even more dynamic. So the Redskins can't fall by the wayside and sit back and feel like what they have in house is good enough, because frankly it's not. They do need more weapons on the field.
Do you think Antonio Brown is actually crazy, or do you feel like he's just doing that to kind of screw over the Steelers and get to a new team?
Well, we all know the answer to that. And I know some people might be saying, I'm thinking he's crazy. No, I don't think that's the case. I just think that some guys know their marketing power.
Yeah.
And they know. I mean, you can see it in their eyes that there's something that's in him right now where he's like, you know what? I really control my own destiny right now. And he feels that way. And at the end of the day, guys, I mean, this is perhaps the best, forget receiver. When he's on his A game, he's the best football player in the game offensively. I mean,
right.
He's that dynamic. So he knows his value. Unfortunately, a 31-year-old that's looking like you have some baggage, I don't know if I want to give up a first rounder for him. If I'm the Redskins, I'm saying second rounder, and let's see if we can get this done by Friday.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, we'll see what Pittsburgh's asking for him, but man, if you get Antonio Brown for a second rounder, I think everyone in Washington's going to be happy. So, like on Twitter a couple of days ago, you concocted a scenario where the Redskins would pick up Kyler Murray. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm a big Kyler Murray fan. I think that he is, I understand people talk about the size and all that stuff, but I think after a while you have to forget all that stuff, because everywhere he's played, he's won, and he's won big. I mean, he's a Texas high school legend. He won the Heisman Trophy. Oklahoma broke Baker's, numbers from the previous year where he won the Heisman.
Right.
So to demean the guy by saying, is he tall enough to play? Well, I know what my eyes were seeing, and that was, one of the top divisions in all of college football, the Big 12. I do know that they don't play defense either in the Big 12, but that's here nor say, because when I saw him play against Alabama in, the semifinals, I mean, he literally looked like a guy that was better than the other guys on defense on the field. And, I know Bama went and got crushed, 2 weeks later by Clemson.
Sure.
But still, this guy proved that he can do everything, and he's got a great arm. He's not a runner. And I think people mistaken the fact that he did rush for over 1,000 yards, but he threw for over 4,000 yards. And I think that people look at that and think that, he's going to be one of these guys that you're going to have to teach how to play in the pocket. I don't buy that at all. And I just think if you look at Baker and look at what he did, they're coming from the same exact system. Baker looked great in the pocket. I mean, he looked like he really looked comfortable as a pro. I don't see any reason for Kyler Murray not to at all. And, I think if you're the Redskins, you need a dynamic type player like that, because this fan base here is really – they're almost at the brink of just being totally insubordinate. I mean, where they just will not have anything else go down, where they don't believe the franchise. So I think if you're the Redskins and you can somehow go into the draft and you already have an Antonio Brown and you've made some maneuvers or moves to get yourself a Kyler Murray, that's if the Cardinals don't take him number one. Sure. And I'm sure you guys saw the stuff today with, Charlie Casserly, former Redskins GM, and some of the comments he made about Kyler Murray, which I thought were totally offline, way out there. But I was sitting here thinking before I came on with you guys, I did mention that he was a GM for the Redskins. And it makes me wonder, is somebody giving Charlie something to kind of make this kid drop a little bit so the Redskins don't have to do much to get him?
I love it.
That's a good point. So, Lake, put on your draft cap, your GM cap for a second. Let's head to the draft real quick. Pick, rounds 1 and 2. Round 1, you're the 15th pick overall. Ideally, obviously, it's hard to say since we're, free agency is still coming. But pick 15. Ideally, who do you guys want?
All right, so you're going to hold me to this. I'm saying they're not going to have the 15th pick because I think they're going to trade up, to get a quarterback. But if you're holding me to the 15th pick and they don't have a trade partner, I actually think they may go Metcalf if he's available.
Okay.
A wide receiver from Mississippi, because they need a game changer on the outside. And, I think that, a big possession receiver would help them. Josh Stockton really hasn't morphed or turned into that for them. He's shown potential, and I still think he's a decent young player, but he just hasn't played up to the billing of a number 1 draft pick. So I think that they may try their hand again at wide receiver.
Okay, and then you head to round 2, pick 46. Who you taking?
That's a tough one there, because
right.
The guy that I've liked all along is Hollywood Brown, but he's not going to be at 46. So
he might be. He might be.
He could be, and that's if he's there, I may take two receivers, but you can't do that.
That's a lot of speed. That's too much speed for one team, Like.
Well, who's going to throw him the ball? So,
that's right.
So the thing I would say is at 46, you got to go with the best player on your board. And in their situation, it's clearly got to be either a safety. But see, then there's the whole Landon Collins situation.
Sure.
He wants to be here. That could be something that changes the whole dynamic of that. But I probably would say offensive guard. I probably would say a left offensive guard would be someone that they could look at 46. There's several different guys out there. I like the kid from Iowa as well, which ironically Brandon Sheriff went there.
Sure.
So I think they may look at guard. I can't give you a specific name because there's several of them out there, but I'll give you the position, offensive guard.
I like it. Lake, where can the people find you out there on the internet?
You can check me out. The site that you can see my work is sportsjourney.com. Also on social media, on Twitter, it's Lake Lewis, and on Instagram and Facebook, it's Lake Lewis Jr., so Lake Lewis Jr.
I love it. We appreciate the time. We'll be cheering on your Redskins, and we'll love to have you back on after the draft.
Awesome. I had a great time. You guys are doing a good job. So I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Lake. All right.
All right, that was Lake Lewis. Good stuff. A little loud with the applause there.
The people love him, man. You can't hush the people. What the heck? Speaking
Fantastic
of,
stuff from all those guys.
Absolutely, man. Whew, 3 guests, rapid fire.
Look
Mike,
at us.
How's it feel? You got to follow this up, man. It's time for that fringe binge.
Aw.
Do it again.
Hold on. Before we can fringe binge, we have to play the fringe binge music. Fringe binge with Big Play Beats.
You ready, guy? Let's hear
I'm
it.
pumped. I'm going to go fast here. We had a great show.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Fantastic stuff. All right, we're going to start with the WWE and pro wrestling news. Fastlane this Sunday in Cleveland, Ohio.
That's right.
Heyo.
We're going to start off with Miz and Shane O'Mac. They're going to be fighting versus the Usos, WWE Tag Team Title Championship.
Yep.
All right.
There.
Another match. I'm actually pumped for this match.
What do
Becky
you got?
Lynch versus Charlotte Flair.
Right, so you got to
Fantastic.
figure they got to get a way to get Becky back in the main event of Mania. So
Love
look for a
Becky
different
Lynch.
kind of quirky finish.
I think we're going to see a 3-way here, Jay.
Yep.
Oh, he didn't say it.
He
All right,
did.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Also, what we think will be the last time the Shield is together. They'll be against Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Bobby Lashley.
Yep.
Another nice match is we have Daniel Bryan, who's going to be against Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship.
Right, yeah. So the thought is there, do they do a quirky finish to get to Kofi Kingston at Mania, or does that turn into a 3-way? A lot of scenarios going on right now.
Yeah, it's unpredictable. All I know is it's eco-friendly.
It is eco-friendly.
There we go.
Yeah, I watched the Bella Twins on. He's pushing that.
You're
hard.
watching that show?
It's a
Wait,
compromise.
is wifey watching that
It's a
show? And
compromise.
I like that. We
Yeah.
do the same thing.
That's going to be
sometimes.
an after-hours conversation.
Yeah, really.
Yes, that is. Tori Wilson is going to be joining the 2019 class of Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Good
very
f-
deserving. No titles, no key matches, but she was in Playboy.
There we go.
There you
All right.
go. And in sad news, wrestling legend King Kong Bundy died this week at the age of 61.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah. We also had a fan of the show asked us, too, about the Tommaso Ciampa situation, guys. So
I like that guy.
Want to talk about that. So he has heard it's a big issue. Looks like his neck's going to be fused, which, if you remember, was the same injury Stone Cold Steve Austin had that eventually ended his
no.
career. So he was going to be the main event at TakeOver with Johnny Wrestling for the title, and the thought was they got to get it over to Johnny Wrestling. So now there's several ways to go. I think it's going to turn into a tournament, and you could see Adam Cole winning that tournament to face Johnny Wrestling for a vacant title.
Okay.
They've been working
both
the house
good
shows, and we
wrestlers.
saw them this weekend at NXT.
Yeah, we'll get
Cleveland,
into that
so-
in the after-hours as
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
So do you think he's not going to come back?
I think so, but that's a long injury. I mean, you
that
won't
sucks.
see him till probably at least a year from now.
Got
if
it.
not 2021. That's a tough one.
Any weird fringe binge stuff out there? Or
No, we were going to do the
Nothing?
AAF power rankings, but I think everybody should just go check out Devin Clements' article at the website, bigplay.com.
Big
He's
Play
got the
Devin.
AAF power rankings out there for you.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
Yeah. So next week, before we get into the after hours, we got a special interview with our friend, the coach. A lot of good stuff going on next week. We talked about the XFL earlier, guys.
Yeah.
We've got the commissioner of the XFL coming in next week. Oliver Luck is stopping by. Looking forward to that. Talk a little baseball and about his new role at the University of Akron. Go Zips. A former Reds legend, Chris Sabo, is stopping in, too. So
Wow.
looking forward to that.
Oliver
Star-studded
Luck
show.
of the XFL, Andrew Luck's dad,
No big deal.
and Chris Sabo.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Oliver if Andrew's still having fun.
You know, I'm just having fun.
Best sound clip ever.
Love Andrew Luck.
Let's get out of here, fellas. Let's go to the after hours.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Big Play Podcast. We will see you next Wednesday.
Yeah.
A little bit earlier.
Yeah, 8 o'clock next week. Yep,
8
starting
o'clock next Wednesday. Tune in. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week. Oh, my God, that was loud. Jaybird, Big Play Beats, good show. Thanks to all of our guests. We'll see you guys next week. Kill the music. Should we try to put you on air just to see what it looks like?
I kind of want to see this hat. This hat, I was stoked about this.
So you bring over all these hats.
Yeah.
And they're all green.
Yeah.
This one's
He's got a
not, right?
crush hat on.
Definitely green in there.
Pretty sure my dad owned that at one point in my life.
Let's see what we got. Oh, not
yeah,
too bad.
Look at that. Look at that.
Gotta fit in the screen.
Yeah, so a little peek behind the camera. We did not set up Michael's camera here before the show.
Looks pretty good though.
Yeah.
A little bright, but
I was gonna say I wish I could zoom
well,
in
it's
on
green, so you can't see any
that.
of it.
This is
That's
the actual
green.
part of the logo. That's the problem.
That's green.
Yeah, that's okay.
You just have a see-through hat there, Michael.
It's okay.
Remember the time I didn't have a neck because I wore that green shirt?
Yeah, you had the V-neck with
Well,
the.
it was like
were a
underneath.
fullback.
Yeah.
You were a fullback, so
Oh, gosh,
you don't
yeah.
need a neck, man. You just wear that neck roll. Great guest.
Man, that show went quick.
That sure did. Well, it helps when you got 3 guests.
And
oh, my
they just-
God.
Absolute professionals know their stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
That's great insight.
Thanks,
We'll
William.
keep that up. So every week, guys, we're going to preview a different conference. Minus next week, we've got 2 guests coming in. But on the 20th, we're going to talk AFC North. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, if I had to power rank those guests, I would probably go all of them number 1.
Yeah. Sack race to figure out who's won.
No, they were all awesome. Evan obviously is a great dude.
Yeah.
He did a fantastic job at the Super Bowl. Really good follow on Twitter.
Yeah, funny guy, too.
Ryan, he's doing an awesome job on Twitter as well.
Yeah. He was on the show before, a long time ago.
Long time ago.
the
I haven't
Mitch
talked.
era.
Yeah, I haven't talked the Big Play Mitch era. Yeah, I haven't talked to Ryan in a long time. Good catching up with him. And then Lake Lewis Jr. just
Killed
crushed
it. Love that guy. We got to have
he's
him back on.
fantastic.
Very funny.
He might be our go-to Redskins guy.
He is. He's the guy.
Yep.
Yeah. It's either
All
him or
good
Colt
stuff.
McCoy.
I'm going Lake Lewis.
I agree.
I'm going Lake Lewis.
So we kind of talked about it earlier, guys. We actually went to NXT Cleveland Saturday.
We did.
So impressions, Dave. We talked about it. Who was the person you saw that you were most impressed with?
So
And don't say how many clear ones I put down,
All
because
right.
we know that was impressive.
Yeah, you were feeling good. I would say so. We went to this NXT show. It was what they call a house show.
Yes.
And I'd never really heard of these, but they're not televised. They're not pay-per-views. They're not on like SmackDown or anything like that.
No. Kind of their AAA affiliate for people that aren't familiar.
Yeah, so we go, and it's at the Agora in Cleveland, Ohio. Super small venue. So wherever we're sitting, it's all general admission,
general
basically.
admission, yeah,
We show up
yeah.
and we're like right next to the wrestlers. So my kiddos, who are 7 and 5, they're just
Loving it.
loving life.
Yeah.
So had a nice tall boy, Bud Heavy,
That a boy?
from the bar. Had got the kids some Sprites. They were
Some
happy.
tall boy sprites.
Tall boy Sprites.
Look
It
at
was
that.
fantastic. So really cool event. And I don't think I will go to any other wrestling shows but house shows.
I like that.
No commercials.
Yeah.
It wasn't 7 hours like Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the quality of wrestlers in NXT is probably better than the quality of WWE.
Nice. I like that.
Turned you down again.
It's all right.
What?
Aleister Black and Ricochet.
Love it.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Start of the match, the card off of that match was
And it
awesome.
lit the crowd up, right?
Absolutely.
They're so athletic. It was
That
incredible.
was a good call.
And if I'm correct, aren't they actually going to be wrestling in a triple threat tag team championship match?
Yeah, so that's coming up Sunday too.
And we got
So
to
that'll
see
be
them
fun.
on Saturday at the NXT show.
Small world.
It's perfect.
I
Yeah.
have a question. Why is the NXT show not in Cleveland. Why is it not in the same venue as the pay-per-view?
Well, they generally get smaller crowds for a house show, so their bread and butter is kind of like.
So why isn't it in the same? Is it in the same city?
It's in the same city.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Where's it at?
Wait. So hold on. The pay-per-view is in Cleveland
Saturday.
on Sunday.
Right. Saturday. I'm talking.
No, they don't have one Saturday.
They don't?
NXT doesn't have a match this upcoming Saturday.
They only do like 4
I thought they
to
always
6.
did that.
No, just for major shows.
Oh,
so they'll have one for
this isn't a major
WrestleMania.
show?
It's not. Sorry, dude.
Ouch.
Sorry. What do you do?
Shows what I know about wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
Oh well.
It was good to hear from John too during the Gruden during the show too. I didn't realize you were
so
going to go to him.
I thought of this during the show.
Yeah.
What's an easy voice for you to switch from between John Gruden and somebody else on the list?
No. I think
That's hard.
I think in the after hours we
Wait,
just.
who drew on the list? Oh, that's the other side.
So
okay.
This Jack, my son, drew on the small plate. Jack drew on our dry erase board with a permanent marker. So we have our list of all of Jay's impressions.
Let's hear him.
So the GM from the Raiders somehow trades for Yoda. I want John Gruden's reaction.
Wait. Say this one more time.
So the GM for the Raiders trades for Yoda.
Okay.
I want John Gruden's reaction.
Ooh, coach you will. Teach you to play football. I will.
I tell you what, Yoda, you want to talk about the Force. This guy runs the Force better than anyone I've ever seen.
And the Force, the real thing in football. You gotta set the edge.
That is a real thing. He runs the XYZ Force better than anyone I've ever seen, Mike.
So what I'm thinking is we need to have like a wheel in the after hours where it picks 2 of your impressions and a topic.
Okay.
So we spin the wheel 3 times to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
You into that?
I can do that.
I love that because I was like, there's no way he is going to logically come up with something. And right off the bat, you did. Nice work, Jay.
Yeah,
that was good stuff.
I'm bored a lot. It's basically a lot of car rides by myself. A lot of,
Yeah. I'll be honest. I had not looked up really at your shirt yet.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic
shirt.
And then we got a great poll over here.
Oh, look at that. You probably get that on bigplay.com/store.
Store, yeah.
There it is. Yeah, go check out that Big Play store.
Yeah, nice.
All right, let's do one more.
Okay,
Yes.
one more.
In honor of the NFL draft coming up, I would like Doris Burke to interview Mel Kiper about the chances of Kyler Murray going number 1 in the NFL draft.
Okay, well, we're live here with Mel Kiper. Mel, obviously we know LeBron quit playing football in high school to concentrate on that sport, so he won't be in the draft. What do you think about Kyler Murray? Well, I tell you what, he's slipping off everyone's draft board. Number 1, a lot of folks say overall. Now that he measured 5'10", 108 inches, a little bit bigger than everyone thought. Measured at 207. Of course, he's going to take off a little bit of weight at his pro day, run his draft, do his passing. I do expect him to go number 1. And hey, what did the Arizona Cardinals do from here? They got Josh Rosen, a guy they picked in number 10 last year. Did they trade him? They get other picks in the draft? We'll see.
Jay, nice work.
That hurts.
That
literally
spot.
hurts, man.
So we don't let Jay know those ahead of time.
I'm the only guy who's never smoked a cigarette, but one day my lungs are just going to collapse because that takes a lot out of you, man.
That was fantastic.
Thanks, guy.
Appreciate it. I think that was probably your best duo impressions of all time.
Right.
Those were excellent. Nice
Thanks,
work.
I appreciate that. I had fun, guys.
And I was trying to throw you off.
Were you?
Yeah, Yoda and Gruden.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
I went female to male.
Yeah, that's also really tough.
Yeah, that's
pretty
tough.
And
tough.
opposite sports generally. Doris Burke is usually on basketball, right?
Yeah, she is, Michael. Of course she's on basketball. She doesn't do football.
That was fantastic. All right, I say we get out of here. Get some promo clips out to the people.
Hey, any breaking? We had a playmaker on Facebook ask any reaction to what's going on with the Browns. So it's all just a lot of smoke right now. Nothing's really come to light.
What we're seeing is pretty much a lot of rumors. Anybody who knows anything is saying it's just rumors right now.
Right.
But there is a lot of rumors saying next 48 hours.
Yeah. Like a lot of cryptic tweets. Demarius Randall had one out there.
Yeah, David Njoku got on the train there.
Juice Jarvis Landry too.
He juiced it.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely something coming. There's too much smoke for there not to be.
Oh, for sure.
And I mean, Cleveland fans, if you know anything about John Dorsey, he's probably going to do something that you're not thinking of.
Yeah.
All doors are open.
I would not count out the possibility of AB.
What do you think, buddy boy? You want to come over here play?
You got to chomp more. There you go.
We'll catch passes from Baker. You know who Baker is, right? No, he doesn't bake cookies. He throws touchdowns, big buddy boy.
Not bad. Not bad.
Check out, Blake at Big Play wrote a really great article about that, too,
He
by
did.
the way.
He
So
did.
check out his stuff.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here in Cleveland, Ohio. But
You always say Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland,
they don't
Ohio.
know what state it's in.
well, hey, this is the national show, Jay.
That's true.
I'm,
That's
I'm
several
trying to
Clevelands.
keep you
That's,
happy.
That's a good point.
Come on, man.
There is
Come on.
one set of big news coming up tonight.
Go
for
Browns.
Jeez. What were you saying, Mike?
LeBron. He's probably going to pass Jordan tonight.
Yeah.
13 points. We'll probably talk about that next week.
Wow.
Just he needs 13 points.
Fantastic season to do it in.
I know, right?
You know, we got to talk about next week how bad the Celtics have been.
Oh.
If it wasn't for the Lakers, we'd be talking about the Celtics.
Who's more
week.
depressed, Kyrie Irving or LeBron James?
Probably LeBron, because at least Kyrie's going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But he did find out the world is not flat this year, so that's tough.
true. That's true.
That's a tough pill to swallow there.
You know what's crazy?
What's
How
that?
bad the Celtics were, and then they go out and just destroy the Warriors.
Yeah,
Beat them by 20, right?
I know. They still got a lot of talent, but
One of the best up and coming squads in the NBA, and now you've got players on the team saying the locker room's toxic.
Going into
What
this year,
changed?
going into this year, was there a better position franchise in the NBA for the future? No. I mean, you look at the Warriors. Of course, they're the current dynasty, but they're aging. KD's going to be gone. You think? So, yeah,
We'll see.
Interesting, man. We'll have to talk about that next week.
That we will when we bring in Andrew Luck, Oliver Luck.
And Chris Sabo.
And Chris Sabo, Mr.
What a
Respects
show,
himself.
man. Woo.
That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
I did have a poster of him that I've referenced before as a kid.
Probably don't bring that up.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, don't
all
bring
right.
that up.
Don't go all fanboy.
No, maybe not.
All right, well, we'll see when we get a WWE wrestler on here how you act.
No, they ignore us, so shouldn't be a problem.
Good stuff. All right. After hours over. We'll see you guys early next week at 8 p.m. We're still out there. I didn't have it ready to get rid of here. Actually.
That's all right. Get rid of it.
Goodbye, Twitter.
Bye, Mom.
No, that's Facebook. Hold on. Goodbye, Facebook.
Bye, Facebook. See you, hon.